This video is sponsored by the Design Mechanism, the makers of Mythras. Mythras is a registered trademark of the Design Mechanism Inc., used with permission. All rights reserved.
Those were the ones, yeah.
Or is it these ones?
Hello and welcome to this week's headphones fun with headphones, which is the popular second episode, the follow-on series from Fun with Flags.
Headphonesarrows.com.
That was from what do you call it? Wasn't it?
Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, Big Bang Theory. I was just watching it before it came out. Yeah. Hello, welcome. We didn't play last week because
why did we not play last week?
Longshanks was doing something, and then Mr. Pickles was poorly.
Oh, right.
So because I actually said it was good that it was like the same weekend, because if Mr. Pickles was poorly this weekend, that would have been 2 weekends off.
Yeah.
You know, so it's nice that everybody did things together in unison.
Yeah.
You know, and
Pickles and I arranged it. It's sorted.
Yeah. So hello everyone. We're back. The party last time we played, they did their experience rolls, and they improved some skills, and they took on a new contract. I think it turned out to be a new agreement with somebody who has recently arrived at Lindo, and they bought some things and headed off. But before I give you a synopsis of what happened last week, I'll allow the players an opportunity to introduce themselves and who they will be playing tonight in the game. And as always, we go first to Chugawugga.
Hi guys, I'm Chugawugga. I play Gulliver, an apprentice sorcerer in the world of Mythras. He's a member of the Order of the Kraken, which is the Blue Order. The Order of the Kraken specializes in spells evolving around communication, transportation, and teleportation. The sorcerers have the unique ability of being able to shape their spells. They can change various aspects of them to suit their needs. These include range, number of targets that they can affect, the power or the magnitude of the spell, and he can even combine several spells into a single casting. He tends not to use direct damage spells. Instead, he prefers to use he's more of a crowd control type of mage. He also has several cantrips at his disposal, which are based around the folk magic school of Mythras. Slower to cast, but they're not as powerful as his sorcery spells. Gulliver was recently injured in one of the battles that we had with the necromancer, who Gulliver single-handedly charged to try to stop him casting a spell. Unfortunately, he got spell cast on him instead, damaged his leg, and since then he's been walking around with a limp. Doesn't look like even the powers of Amriel can cure him. And I will pass on to Mr. Pickles.
I'm Mr. Pickles, and I play Bartleby Fumus, who is our team's theist. He was once hoping to be a bard, an aspiring bard, I guess would be the best way to put it, but he had a life change after being attacked by bandits, and he became a priest of Amriel. Amriel is the light moon goddess, and generally gives him the powers of being able to heal people, keep people from becoming fatigued through hard labor, energy overall, protection. Bartleby also has a few other abilities coming possibly from Maroth, the dark moon god who is related to Amriel. Other than his theist abilities, which are numerous, he has a lot of lore skills to help the party. He's got lore of monsters, history, and Lower Lindo now, the impoverished area of the city that we reside in. Bartleby's somewhat of a coward, but also fairly naive, so he can easily walk into traps if he doesn't have his suspicion triggered. And that's Bartleby. I'm going to pass it on over to Medivac.
Oh, that was way too fast. Thank you, Mr. Pickles. I am Medivac and I play Hazra Khan. He's a nomad. He spent many years in the northern steppes of Odes, traveling with his tribe. And then he lost them. So he spent a few years wandering the wilderness, helping people, tracking, just defending the helpless. And then he fell upon this motley crew, which he loves dearly. He's been through many adventures with them. He's the scout, the tracker. He is the go-to backup fighter. He likes to throw things into combat, but that's another story. He likes to play with a short spear and a scimitar. He is learning so much about social life. He hates cities, but he knows they are a necessary evil that he has to put up with, basically. But he does find his main love is in the countryside, in the forest, in the wilderness, tracking, finding, scouting, working out how things change, and then reporting that back to his brotherhood, or the brotherhood, who will note down his comments as he can barely write, he can barely scrawl. He wears a linen armor, which is a quilted armor from head to toe, as his token will display. The only thing he does show is his eyes normally. When in a city, he will pull it down to his chin, but he will never show his arms because his left arm is black. It's burnt blackness from the first time he met this party. When he tried to help and take away a stone from an evil person, and it destroyed it, took all the skin off and turned it all black. And with that cheery note, I shall pass on to Longshanks EPG.
Thank you very much, Medivac. Hi guys, I'm Longshanks EPG, and tonight I'm playing the character Hengist. He's a noble from across the sea, came across with Gulliver at the same time on the same ship with Captain Seatide. Before he came over, he was a warrior in his uncle's household where, although a noble himself and would go on to inherit his father's lands, his uncle, who taught him to fight, he followed the mantra of you must learn to follow before you can lead. And then there was an event where his sister was kidnapped on the eve of her wedding, and he went off to go and find her before he could actually learn to lead. So that's why he doesn't do that, but he's gonna try and start doing that sort of thing now, I think. He made it over to Odist, where he thought, well, I'm a lord, I'm really noble, everyone, and then he realized that nobody cared because nobody knew who he was. So he's been building up his reputation to the point where he's recently purchased a house in the noble area of Odist, where he hosts dinner parties and is slowly mingling with noble families. He is a warrior by trade, as I mentioned. He wears heavy armor, which is emblazoned with his family's crest, fights with a sword and shield, and he tries to protect the weak and innocent, and he doesn't like evil people or criminals and that sort of thing. So it's similar to Bartleby in that way, but he has no religion. But he doesn't, just because people have religion, he doesn't mind. You know, everybody needs something. He's just got his trust in his faithful sword. And I will stop rambling and pass it on to Inwills.
Thank you very much. Oh, yep, he's back. I suddenly saw Gulliver just leave. And I thought, oh, and do you know, you should have made it so Bartleby actually had a pet cat.
Yeah, a familiar.
That would have been absolutely fantastic. I could have tried to kill it. Wasn't
Every time.
wasn't when we used to play at Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, I'm sure Find Familiar used to be a first level spell, a magic user spell, but if your familiar died, you took double the amount of hit points that your familiar had. And I always remember first level magic user only had 1d4 points of hit points, which means it would have been taken out quite. It was a wonderful way to kill a wizard, if I remember correctly. Okay, so yeah, the party have regrouped. In the last episode, Hasra moved house. Hengist carried on in his royal his gentry life. Bartleby took on a talking role to try to raise the value of the slums in the church council meeting. And Gulliver, I'm trying to think now what Gulliver did. Did you increase your literacy skill?
Yeah, I increased my literary skill because I needed to. It's one of the skills that
that's right. Yeah.
To advance within the.
And I think people bought new spells, if I remember. I think.
Yes, I bought kill everything.
Kill everything.
I bought incognito.
Oh yes, that's it. Incognito. That's what I was thinking about for streetwise. And the party sort of like was relaxing when they were approached by a really strange young lady called Tiffan. And Tiffan was rather rude, rather abrupt, but introduced the party to her master Annalin. And Annalin is an alchemist, and he has agreed some conditions with the party that in the future there might be an exchange of elixirs in line for payment for jobs being done, etc., etc. Anyway, the first job was that Annalin came to Lindo, fleeing from a rather dangerous position because he used to live in the forest. But can anybody remember what happened? Or do you just...
Yeah, wasn't it attacked? Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember what. It was a big cat of some sort.
Big, huge beast, huge black beast.
That's right. He got the abode, the house got attacked, and he managed to escape with his life. But he wanted you to go back to the house to recover some of the important books and maps that would be associated with his alchemy, because his grandmother had all that, but he was forced to flee when the big beast attacked. And if you remember, Annalin went through a wonderful very descriptive, very lyrical description of the attack and what happened, etc. And he told you that you had to take Tiffan with you. And Tiffan has, if you remember, a note from Annalin to be given to you once the items have been recovered. And you decided that it's about 2 days' journey into the forest, near to where you've been beforehand, into the forest, and about 2 days' journey, and you bought a wagon and an ox called Brutus to pull it, and Gulliver used his wonderful riding skill, I think. No, his drive skill, that was it, to set the wagon off. I think Tiffan was on the front bench with you, was she not, Gulliver?
Yeah, so Tiffan decided that she was going to attach herself to Gulliver rather than anybody else, so yeah. And Tiffan is sort of like Gulliver's shadow at the moment.
Yeah, and she's quite a strange looking individual. Um, if you are you on the tavern map? I'm just reminding you what they. So this was Annalin, and then this was the was the
Oh yes, she's from the ring, isn't she? Yes.
yeah. So this is what Tiffin looks like. Let me just go onto the big map so everybody can see. That's what Tiffin looks like, and this is the infamous Annalin. And if you remember, Annalin has a ring-tailed lemur that he has.
That's right.
That goes around on his shoulder.
Peculiar.
Yes, and you set off, if I remember correctly, off into the forest on your first day of the trip, and you had bought food and rations, etc. They were all in the back of the wagon. I think Gulliver was driving, and the rest of you were either walking or in the wagon, and you set off, leaving Linda by the north gate, and then to head north and then across the river via a bridge and then into the forest. Yeah. So anybody want to ask or say anything before we get down to the nitty gritty?
Yes, the first thing we do before we start is I'm going to make a perception roll. But anyway, I wrote it down at the end of my bit of paper.
Perception roll for?
Just what's going on, where we're going.
All right, just looking around at
the bottom of my page, I wrote perception.
Why did you?
So I don't know. Clearly, I needed to make one when I first came on. So great, yeah.
Okay, so you sort of like all set off, and you make your perception roll, Hazra.
Hazra. That one. And perception is going to be 50 out of 90.
Yeah, and you leave and you keep an eye out behind your hazard, just to, this is not the sort of situation that you would suddenly want to find yourself being followed, especially with your relationship with the head of the Thieves Guild. Not the best at the moment, since he's annoyed you and you've annoyed him, and i.e. all of you. So Hazra, you sort of like do your normal trick of hanging back a bit, hiding in the undergrowth, letting the cart go off just to wait and see if anybody's following. And there seems to be nobody noticeably following you. You even check the skies, and there seems to be no blackbird high up in the skies following you or anything like that. You seem to be quite alone on the wagon, in walking or riding as you see fit. Just to let you know, it's not the warmest time of the year. If you remember that we're coming into the winter months, so you're probably wrapped up in your cloaks and blankets, etc. But it's one of those mornings that the sun is actually shining, but it's crisp and cold, and the sky is blue. There doesn't seem to be any clouds on the horizon, so it looks like you're going to have a clear day traveling, and also probably get into the woods or to the edge of the woods by the end of the day. Apart from
Gulliver wants to make sure that he keeps Brutus going at sort of like just a slow, steady pace. He doesn't want to make him go too fast, overexert him. If there's any sort of like obstacles in the road, he's going to make sure that he takes him round him. He doesn't want to do anything that might cause Brutus distress or hurt him. You see what I mean? Because that was part of his promise of
that was it. You telepathically connected with Brutus, I think. Yeah. And you sort of like, after the initial drive skill to get things going and to arrange that sort of like communication, that being some kind of comrade with each other, Brutus seems to be following instructions quite well. Unless something drastic happens, like somebody jumps out or scares him or anything like that, you'll probably not have to make another drive roll, until maybe getting going the next day.
Could I do other things? For example, could I reach behind into the cart and get things out of my backpack and stuff like that? Would he just keep going?
Yeah, he seems to be. He seems to be one of these animals that because you're following a road at the moment, and he's sort of like, his head's down, he's just plodding along. He figures, this is the way to go. It's a straight ahead, second star to the right, so forth and so on. And he just seems to be going. So you don't actually need to keep hold of the reins or anything like that. Tiffin is quite happy to take them from you. If need be, but he seems to just be following the road. You'll probably have to have some kind of interaction when he actually, when you want to turn. I don't think he'll just walk all the way to Grandma's house by himself.
So after we've been going down the road for a few hours, Gulliver's going to say to Tiffin, do you want to just hold the reins, Tiffin, when I get something from my backpack? Don't shake them or anything. All you got to do is just hold them really carefully, and Brutus will just carry on.
And Tiffin sort of like looks up at you as if to say, she's not too pleased by the prospect of holding the reins, but it's not out of fear. It's almost like, sorry, you want me to do something here?
It'll only be for less than a minute. After I just got to get.
And she sort of like lets out a sort of like sigh, and sort of like takes them and sort of like holds her arms like this, with them just limply on, and she carries on sort of like not really looking anywhere in particular.
So Gulliver wants to sort of like turn round and go into his backpack, which is just behind him, and he wants to get out some of his trail rations. So he wants to. I suppose it's just bread and stuff, is it?
It'd be preserved meats.
So he wants to get out sort of a bit of it, like more like a snack rather than a meal. And he'll turn back round and he'll put it on his lap, and he'll take the reins back off Tiffin, and he'll say, "Oh, thank you," and then he'll eat a bit. He'll just sort of like maybe pick up a bit of dried meat and pop it in his mouth, and he'll say to Tiffin, "So, do you like working for Annalin?"
And she sort of like looks at you in the way that only Tiffin can, as if to say, "Do we have to have this conversation?"
And when she looks up at him, he'll take a bit of, I don't know, biscuit or something, and say, "Would you like a bit of biscuit?"
And she sort of like looks at you, and she sort of like reaches into her pack that is probably next to it, and sort of like takes out what appears to be a small not perfect apple, and she just sort of like takes it out and sort of like looks at you and goes and sort of like takes a great massive mouthful of it, and it's a bit like when you bite into an apple and a bigger bit comes off than what you're expecting, and she just sort of like puts it into her mouth and just sort of like chews it, almost like menacingly. You know, so like very deliberate, sort of like crunch, 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 and just like that. And she sort of like has the reins in one hand, and sort of like goes, and sort of like passes them back to you, and then
I'll take them back again.
As this is happening, you'll see Hazra coming forward from the rear guard, and he will pass them both and say and say to the group, everything is clear behind, nobody's following us. And he'll look at this young girl,
Tiffan.
Tiffin. Yes, sorry, I had to turn a page. Tiffin, and say, that is very good. An apple a day keeps the theist away. And he'll go up to Brutus and he'll just gently rub Brutus's head as he meanders forward.
Yeah, and it's Brutus. Oh, actually, that might have been Tiffin that made that noise. You're sort of like not too sure. Just so I know, obviously Gulliver's driving. Hazra, you're walking.
Yes, I'm going back some. Forward.
What about Bartleby and Hengist? Whereabouts are you in the
Harry
orientation? Yeah. Hengist decided not to come.
So I can't make it tonight.
Hengist is having posh wine due somewhere. No, Hengist will be. How fast is the wagon going? Is it sort of like walking like normal?
Yeah, I mean you can walk. That's not.
Hengist will be walking alongside the wagon, sort of like just keeping an eye over everything, that sort of thing. Just mulling away in his own thoughts.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And what about Bartleby?
Bartleby is probably taking a nap in the back in anticipation that there's going to be night watches, and he wants to be more alert. And it's probably slow enough in, you can get bundled up between all the food packs.
Yeah. And you sort of like make everybody sort of like Bartleby has a bit of a nap. There's sort of like blankets in there in any case, so you can get rather
Gulliver's not very good at travelling when everybody's sort of like not speaking. So after sort of like half an hour after trying to talk to Tiffin, he's going to start telling stories. So he's going to even if she's not bothered, he's going to tell her the story of the painted men that they met, and when he killed the giant scorpion, and when he killed the she witch that couldn't be killed.
Gulliver, stop. I need to go forward and check to see if anything is ahead to distract us or anything. So, and Hazra will move forward, going, not this one again.
Yes. Does Gulliver have an oratory skill for telling his story?
I don't think he does. No.
He's a professional.
No, he doesn't. No.
Yeah. So you sort of like
he has. Yeah.
So you sort of like busy telling your stories, and Hazra sort of like says, "Sorry, I need to go off in one direction," and Tiffin just sort of like seems to have her head down for the majority of the journey, and Bartleby probably sighs and sort of like turns over.
Well, Gulliver's part seems to be getting bigger and bigger, and everybody else's part seems to be getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
Even to the extent that it's almost like Hengist wasn't there.
Yeah, and Gulliver goes
maybe holding the coats somewhere.
And Gulliver sort of like talks about his wonderful virtue and his prowess in combat, and everybody seems to. Probably the only person or the only thing that is listening is probably Brutus. As people sort of
captive audience.
Sort of like people sort of like almost like.
Gulliver looks at it that anybody who's on the cart can't get away, and therefore doesn't have a choice.
Yeah, and it's sort of like you sort of like just go on. It's not almost like Bartleby would have done it with a lot more intrigue, and because is it Bartleby who has the oratory skill then?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's why I asked, because I didn't know I couldn't remember whether or not Gulliver had it or Bartleby had it.
Yes, he's our C3PO with the
Yeah,
oh gosh.
and it's almost like with a good oratory skill, then the story comes to life.
Every so often he wants to try to get Tiffin involved, or to sort of like to answer, to say something. So he'll say stuff like and then there was a giant scorpion, and then he'll say to Tiffin, have you ever seen a giant scorpion, Tiffin?
And Tiffin's response, just to sort of like, so you all understand, is a bit like that teenager who really doesn't care, almost as if you are all embarrassing her, and almost like she knows she has to be here, but it's really strange because all four of you really have no idea what she's about. You still just get this feeling that she's just some sort of wayward teenager that seems to be in a constant bad, well, the only time she doesn't seem to be in a bad mood is probably when she's asleep, and then it's doubtful, and she just doesn't seem to want to. She has a total lack of interest in anything, and even when she's eating, there seems to be no indication of how nice the food is, and Gulliver sort of like tries to get her excited about certain parts of the story, and she either just looks straight ahead, or if forced to, she sort of like looks at Gulliver as if to say, really? And then after a while, just sort of like either sighs or goes like this, and just sort of like looks down, and she seems to have, it is almost as if you don't think she wants to be there, but you think she has to be there, which seems to be a very, very strange case of everything. The other thing that you all start to wonder as you're riding along is you start to become, the more you think about it, why did Annalin send her? In the sense that, why didn't Annalin come himself? Even if he sort of like is fearful of the beast, why send his apprentice? Does that make sense? You sort of like, suddenly, as beforehand, you never thought about it, but it's only now that you're well on your way and it's coming to the end of the first day, and you're sort of like, you're all coming to this same sort of like thought between you in your own way.
I mean, Gulliver had put it down to that he was a coward. I mean, when the beast attacked, he had run for his life. He wasn't bothered about. He was scared more than.
Yeah, and you all come up with your own justification of it, but you still sort of like think, okay then, so but why send a teenage girl? And Annalin came across as a very flamboyant, keen to please, starting up a business sort of like guy, and and he's just literally, if you remember, he just sort of like said, Tiffin will be going with you, and that was it. And he didn't even sort of like say to you, please take care of her. If anything, it was just like, oh, and there's the note, Tiffin, don't forget to give it to them at the right time. And then that was it. And first question that I've got is coming to the end of the first day, and you've had this rather strange journey that you've kept a lookout, and there's definitely nobody following, or nothing following you at all. Hengist, you sort of like been keeping an eye out round the wagon while Hazra's been scouting forwards and backwards. Bartleby, you've been asleep, been awake, been asleep. Gulliver, you've kept Brutus on the right track and been telling your stories all day. And the sun's dipping, and you are aware that it becomes very cold at night very rapidly. And it's the time you can see the forest out in the distance, and it's about time to decide where you are going to pitch camp for the night. And your choices would be, just to give you now, just to let you know, Hazra, you'll probably be wanting to roll a survival skill. That won't dictate where you
No.
It'll be how well you find a campsite in the place that you want to go. So there's 3 places that you can rest for the night. You can either rest in on the flat piece of ground that's between the river and the forest. Okay, there are some small hillocks around this place. It's mainly coarse grass. You might be able to find a hillock that you can sort of like set your fire around if you want to light a fire. You'll probably use the wagon for some kind of shelter, either sleeping in it or under it or something like that. So that's the first option. The second option is to camp somewhere on the border. So you have the best of the plains, but also the best of the forest. So it's probably in that area when there's some small trees growing. They're not massive, but you might be able to get better protection by, putting the cart in some way. But you will have trees around you, while in the plains you'll have nothing. And the third option, of course, is to actually drive into the forest. There's no noticeable path or track at the moment, and you sort of like go in, and so you can go into the forest and then find somewhere to camp, and then that'll give you the benefit of the cover from both the canopy of the trees and the tree trunks. However, unlike the plains where you'll be able to see for quite a distance, within the forest this will be limited. So it swings and roundabouts. So you're currently at, you're going across the plains. You can see the forest in the distance, and one of you sort of like starts the conversation that we're going to have to camp for the night.
Gulliver, as he's driving, he'll notice that Brutus is starting to slow down, and on one of Hazra's passes, he'll say, "Hazra, I think we need to find somewhere to camp soon. It's getting dark, and Brutus is getting tired. And I promised him that once he was tired, that we would stop and find a nice place for him to rest. So if you could find somewhere."
I totally agree, Gulliver. I've been scouting ahead for a place to camp, and I think I found somewhere here on the plains, because we do not want to be in the forest at night time, because we do not know what's ahead of us. And if we go up onto one of these hillocks, then I think our light from our fire will shine across many miles. So I think down here between the river and the slight rise and away from the forest will give us ample place to see if anything approaches us. And we can do like we've done before. We are used to this. We can keep a staggered watch, so we always have somebody watching at night time what is going on. As long as they face away from the fire, then I cannot see a problem. They can be able to see perfectly. So yes, I think nice. And then you can sleep. If you maybe get the tarpaulin and put it over the top of the wagon and sleep under that, you'll be nice and warm while you're doing your blankets. Put them across the top. You will be warm in the wagon.
Okay, well, just find a place, and we'll stop there and start our camp preparations.
Yes, I want to set a few traps before I sleep tonight, so we can have a nice meaty breakfast. That would be nice.
Okay then. So the decision is to. I'm just finding your tokens to put you onto the. Whereabouts are they? Just found the Mr. Pickles mask. That's from a while ago. Okay, here we go. But I'll make you smaller in a second, because as always, Bartleby's sort of like 10 foot tall.
As he is in real life.
Yeah.
Yes. His oratory skills are that good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'll find the. I've got a cart as well, but I'll bring that up now. Just to let you know, when you first go on to here, you might not be able to move your characters, but I am working on it.
Can't move my character.
Look at me! I'm bouncing ready for.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's preferential treatment.
Right.
That.
Hengist, you should be able to move yours.
It's alphabetical, but backwards.
Still can't move mine. Still can't move mine. Still
Are we there yet?
Mine.
You can move yours now.
Yeah.
Just so you know, look. Can you see my new tokens?
No.
And
Whereabouts are they?
Oh, he's got new shiny things, hasn't he?
Yeah, I saw that. There's new sticker things that you.
Yeah.
Right.
So now, if you look at Bartleby's, bleeding.
Bleeding.
nice.
Oh, days
Or
of
we
future
can have
past.
Fire!
Blood.
Oh.
Yeah. So just to let you know, look, Bartleby's possessed.
Poison.
That's
Always
not the
am.
first time. Yes. Possessed with the power of Amriel.
Bartleby
Hallelujah.
can't hear anymore.
Hey, what? That stuff's in the. Oh, yes, it is.
I had to buy these, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah.
Bye.
What, with real money?
Yeah. Well, you could draw your own if you wish, but I just.
Yeah, I've seen your drawing.
This says Gulliver's targeted and he's running away.
Yes.
This is Gulliver pretending to be a yellow frog.
No, it's a yellow goddess.
So yeah, right. So that's you on. Let me just bring on. I do have a cart somewhere, but
do you have an oxen as well?
Do you know that is an interesting question, because I wasn't expecting
Preparation.
Yeah.
That's what they say about the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah. Nobody
You expect the Spanish Inquisition.
We might.
Oh God.
The answer to your question. The answer to your question is no. I do not have. Actually, hang on. Let's just do everything.
No, what? Like oxen, deer, elephants, horses.
Have to be careful. Jugger Wugger will appear with his hunting rifle in a moment.
Yeah, I just.
Just
Yeah, so
just thinking out the herd.
This is Hazra with Brutus.
Yar. Living in the Amish paradise.
Gulliver's got dressed up for the
It's the second one, Tiffan.
yeah. Do you know? You won't believe what that picture is called or where it's from. It's actually from a web page called thebibledaily.org.
It's Amish.
Oh no.
Oh my goodness.
Did you have it in your Google search already?
Yeah. Yeah. I wish you had bought two. Can I just say that it's a lot easier finding two oxen rather than one. Let's get your cart on in any case, because
Did that man have a biblical name? Was his name Hezul?
Hezul. Right. Let's get your card on. Oh, hang on. Do I have?
It is an oxen
Oh!
cart.
Yeah!
Go roll 20. Yes.
I've actually bought that, would you believe?
By the way, this game is sponsored by Roll20.
Now that's
No,
worth
it's
the
not.
money.
Actually,
That
it's
is.
not sponsored by.
Oh, Jesus. It's
Rather-
huge.
Rather than the poorly done little icons.
That is nice.
That's good, isn't it?
I'd buy that for $1.
I buy that. I was just trying to.
How far away from the forest are we?
It's a fair distance.
You can see it in the distance, but
So it's not somewhere that we could go and gather firewood from. Is it? It's a fair distance away.
yeah. I mean, you could if somebody wanted to walk that far.
But we've already got our supplies, which will have tinder and things in it as well. And
yeah. I mean, it's completely up to you whether or not somebody can go off and have a rummage around if you wish or not.
And bring back all the wood.
Into the woods.
I'll just bring Tiffan across for you. Copy. And then
We haven't lost her yet.
God, no, she's done that well somewhere.
there she is.
Oh, is that the problem? Is we're going to Grandma's house to find Tiffan?
Yeah.
in a well, and we're like, wait, Tiffan, you're dead in a well. What are you doing?
Like, all of you should be able to move Tiffin now. And all of you should.
What happens if we all try to move her at once? Who gets?
And
Can you
all
move
of
it like a stop motion way?
all of you should also be able to move the wagon, which is far more exciting.
My wagon.
Than-
I've had
I
it for years.
can't move
Not to
myself.
move the oxen separately.
No,
Oh, can we do that? We need to put it to pasture.
No, it's
Yeah.
firmly attached. And
Realism.
the other thing, just so I know, are you lighting a fire?
Yes.
Okay. So this will be your fire pit.
So Gulliver's main thing is once we stop for the night, he wants to make sure that Brutus is bedded down. So he'll unhitch him from the wagon, and he'll make sure that he has the food and water that Hazra.
I bought. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he'll. I mean, does he need to be pegged?
Toileted? Yeah, no, he's fine. You probably attach him. You probably.
Yeah, you fasten something to his.
Yeah, because I don't want him to.
He might even have a
rough.
nose ring in.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's hardcore.
Yeah, so I don't want him to wander.
Just
And then the other thing that I want to do, I want to see whether or not I can find a bit of stick, a branch or something. You know, maybe a couple. Maybe 3-4 foot long, something like that.
okay.
Maybe lying on the ground. You know, just have a look around. I don't want to be going right the way over to the forest for it.
What's the use of this stick?
It's something that he wants to be able to do a marking on the floor with.
Okay then. Right. So the first thing I would like you to do, please, is organise roughly your campsite. So I've put some green off to the right of the board, off to the east. That's the direction that the forest is in. Okay. So you should be able to move all the characters, the wagon, etc. We'll say for the argument that the oxen is sort of like near the wagon, so we don't need to remove it altogether.
Well, chance I would tether it to the wagon anyway.
Yeah.
So but how far, literally, how far in like meters is the forest away? Like
okay.
500 meters or
Well,
1,000 meters?
How far would you like it away? Because you guys are stopping, so
Yeah,
it's
I'd like to stop sort of like 1,000 meters away from. No, 1,000 meters. That sounds really bad.
that's a kilometre. Yeah.
It's a kilometre. Yeah, I'd like to stop within eye shot of the entrance, so you can make out the trees.
Okay.
And the reason for that is so myself and Hengist can go to the edge to get firewood in case we need it before it gets dark.
Okay, so if you figured that your movement rate, is the amount of meters per action, isn't it? So that's the amount of. So that's per 5 seconds. Oh, sorry, Mr. Bartleby can't move himself. Can everybody else move? No, nobody can. Right, there you go, Mr.
Myself. Okay.
I thought it was a joke you guys are playing on me.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be the first time.
That was funny, wasn't it?
So
And everybody can move.
we'll say it's about 500 meters away then, just for the sake of it. So you can
It's
go
literally
off.
so we can just wander off and get some deadfall and bring it back.
So if you would like to rearrange the campsite, so I know where everybody will be sleeping, where the wagon is, where the fire pit's going to be, etc., where you want Tiffan to be sleeping, and then we'll put yourselves where you're going to be sleeping, and then you can arrange your watches, and then you will be out and about. So I know where your default position is when you're not on watch.
We'll let Tiffin sleep in the. Oh, that's the fire. We'll let Tiffin sleep in the wagon.
Okay.
Has she got blankets and stuff?
Yeah. You're well prepared for it. I mean,
So we'll let.
It's probably going to be quite chilly in there because it'll be away from the fire. Because you're likely to keep the fire not blazing.
Yeah, okay. So we'll arrange the things round the fire then.
Okay.
I can't move you. Just move yourself across, Hengist, a bit. Or not. No, that's fine. No, it's fine. No.
I'll tell you what, I'd rather have you, Gulliver, and Tiffin with your backs to the wagon. And me and Hengist to the forest, because the wagon is going to block the light from. In fact, let's do this properly.
Move yourself.
Hengist.
Too late.
Hengist, come to the forest side with me, and then that's where Gulliver and
that's it. That's
everybody else will be covered by the wagon to the plains. And if we do a watch, the person on watch will stand on the back of the wagon, so he can see around everywhere with a good height.
Okay.
Don't look at the fire.
Hengist and Bartleby, I think you were heading off to the edge of the forest to get firewood. So just as you go over there, could you, both of you, please roll perceptions for me?
Well, I'll do it because I was going with Hengist. So, unless Bartleby, do you want to go?
Oh, I thought I was told.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, Hazra and Hengist.
Because I thought we were stronger and we could carry more.
Yeah, I got confused.
Yeah.
And
we have fingers.
And then we also leave everyone, all the non-fighters, at the wagon to get ambushed.
Hengist can't see the wood for the trees as he arrives there. And
Sorry, I'll do that. Hengist, what are you doing over there? Look, these are trees. They're made of wood.
Okay, you sort of like, both of you sort of like go and Hazra, you sort of like point out bits of firewood for Hengist, because I mean he's not used to laying a fire. He's even less. Actually, I think Hengist actually has a survival skill.
Hengist does have a survival skill.
So you sort of like, both of you go off and sort of like start to collect wood. Hengist, you notice nothing at all.
I didn't find any good.
You sort of like just concentrate on picking up the wood and then heading back. Hazra, you get a very strange feeling when you're picking up the forest, or in the forest picking up woods. You're not really inside the forest. You're just sort of like on the edge. But you don't actually see anything. You get this sense, and this sense of being almost like watched, almost as if there's a predator or something checking you, stalking you, and you know, you even get to the point that you suddenly will round.
I was going to say, as soon as I feel that feeling, I will drop into my little stance whereby he will get as low as possible. One hand will be on the floor with his spear, the other hand will be on the floor, and he'll be as low as possible.
Yeah.
And he'll be looking around through the forest and seeing if he can see anything.
Yeah, and Hengist, well, so you're picking up wood, Hengist,
Mhm.
and then also you see Hazra do this. It sort of like goes into this posed, this crouched, ready.
Almost like what cats do when they get really low, ready to
And
pounce.
what's going to be Hengist's reaction to that?
So Hengist has been carrying wood, so he's sort of like been bundling it up under one arm so he can do that. He stops, like he realizes that Hazra's not moving, and so like up to half turns mid stoop after he's seeing a nice bit of kindling, and it's like, Hazra, what are you doing?
There is something out there. I have a feeling.
Where is this feeling pointing you towards?
Just inside the forest, that's all I can say. You know, and it's something you must know that you're a warrior. When you feel this thing, something is watching you, or there's something going to happen to you, you get this feeling. You know what I mean? No? How have you still lived? You must have a survival instinct where you know if something is going to jump on you, you get this sixth sense which says there is something out there.
Things normally jump out at me and I don't see them, but then I kill them anyway.
But this is how I survive. So please just gather the wood and just move gently away.
Hengist will sort of like back away slowly, so like still picking up his bit of kindling, his handful of kindling, and it's like just tucking it under his arm, and it's like starts backing away. And he's now scanning the forest, the tree line.
Yeah,
and then he realizes, and he says to Hazra, if there's one, there might be more, and we've left Gulliver in charge of the camp.
They have plenty of vision to see if anything is coming, so let us just slowly back away from here. I don't know. Do you know when you've... yes. And what Hazra will do, he will, as he's going back, he will just scoop a few bits. I mean, I made the larger bits of wood, and he will just slowly, in his crouch, move backwards and out to safety. And once he feels...
Out of the wood.
Out of the wood, yes. Yes. When he feels like he's out of the wood and into the fire pan, he will back away and then walk backwards a safe distance, turn, and then walk to the camp.
Yeah, and you sort of like, even as you're leaving the forest, Hazard, this feeling does not go away, and you're actually, after a while, you suddenly get this feeling that it's not actually at your level, and you sort of like start to look up at the canopy, and it's quite dark up there now, and you know you sort of like get that feeling. It's almost as if you're being watched. But there's sort of like the hair on the back of your neck is sort of like almost like tingling. And the other thing that you notice as well, and you haven't noticed this in a long time, that your amulet on your chest has suddenly got slightly warmer. It's not sort of like, ow, but it's almost like changed its temperature, and you suddenly realise it's actually there.
Especially in this cold night as well.
Yeah.
It'll be, yeah.
And as you sort of like back away from the going backwards, keeping an eye and scanning around, as you come further and further away from the forest, then the amulet returns more to its original temperature, and you sort of like, both of you sort of like get back to the campfire, where the rest of the party are waiting.
After Brutus has been bedded down and the campfire has been sorted out, Gulliver has going to have started to actually almost like do a circle about 5 foot away from the and he's pulling his stick round doing a circle, and every so often he'll stop and he'll almost like bend down and get his dagger out and almost like do a rune and then carry on from there. He'll just do like a little sigil in the, and he'll carry on, and then once when everybody's back, he'll turn to them and say, I'm going to seal my alarm spell, which will tell me if anybody enters the circle. Once I do, it's important that you don't leave. Is there anything else we need before I seal it?
But how far have you done it, Gulliver?
Yeah. So
if far enough? Sorry.
If Gulliver draws it on, because he can. I'm quite happy that he shows you where it is, because you don't want to artificially walk over it. So probably while Gulliver's saying that, he sort of like, walks round the edge and sort of like so you know where it is. It also worked the positive as well.
So it's like 5.
Are you drawing it?
Like 30 feet around us.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So it's like we've got like, I don't know, 5, 6. What's that? 18 feet.
That's fine.
All right. Well, that's what he'll do anyway. So that's it.
Before he activates it, what Hazard would like to do is go out and set some traps.
Yeah, it's probably about 7 meters from you.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
It'll take him time to do, but he'll say, before I seal it, is there anything people needs to?
Yeah. So Hazra, you can go off and set traps. Hengis, is it something that you want to augment? Are you going with Hazra to augment it with your skill or not?
No. So Hengist's survival skills more sort of setting fires and that sort of thing. It's not a hunting sort of survival skill, so he won't be helping with that.
So Hazra, just roll your survival skill, and then we know what you will find.
Oh.
Okay. So yeah,
I'm going to use a point of luck. I'm going to reverse that.
Yeah.
I didn't use a point of luck last week.
Yeah. So you set your traps, and then you get back into the protective circle. Gulliver, you can cast your alarm. Is alarm a sorcery spell?
No, it's not. It is it's a folk magic cantrip,
Cool.
which is there it is. I would like to take minutes.
Yeah,
if I may.
yeah, but what I'm going to say is that it's going to come off no matter what, because you could literally take hours. The only thing that I need to see is whether or not it's a fumble or a crit.
It's not.
Because you'll then get the benefit or the negative of your magic points. Yeah, so you set the spell, and everything is happy, and everything's sort of like.
Well, once it's done, he'll also say to Tiffany, Tiffany, it's important that you don't stray from the campfire during the night. Because there's certain magics that are protecting us, so we know whether or not anybody enters or leaves.
She sort of like looks at you as if to say, "Do you think I'm stupid or something?" And just sort of like lies down and sort of like puts the blanket. She's sort of like all wrapped in it, and she's wrapped around her, and she even sort of like flops it over her head. So she's on the ground, and all you can see of Tiffin is just like a blanket cocoon. You can't even see her face. You may be able to see a bit of dark hair coming out from underneath the blanket, and almost too soon you hear like this as she's obviously fallen off to sleep. Could you put numbers on your characters for the order of watch? If you remember, if you just click them, go onto the colour, So we'll do whatever colour anybody wants, and then instead of clicking the colour, just hover over it and press a number key, and that'll put the order on. So who will be taking first watch?
Gulliver will.
Okay then. So you give yourself number 1. Bartleby, I can see, is number 2.
Could I cast a folk magic prayer before going to sleep?
Yes, by all means. What would you like to cast?
Once everybody's in the circle and it's kind of winding down.
The circle of life. Can I just point out, it is not a circle.
It's
No.
close.
Have you ever tried drawing a circle with a stick?
Well, I just sort of like thought it was going to be a lovely.
Am I really stupid? You say hovers over the character. Yes, hovers over the character, and then press a number.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was just a question.
So-
It's a rhetorical question. Yeah.
So you press the button. Can you see the red, blue, yellow?
Yeah, well, I did that. I put the green one.
So
No,
hover
no.
over the green.
Over the green.
Go down to the bottom things where the circle is. Click
All
that.
right. Yes.
Find
Got
the
you.
colours. Hover over the green and press.
So we'll go on green and push 4. Right. Brilliant.
There
So I
you
put 4 in the green one above the
Yes.
red, green, and blue.
So those are used for
So, yes, I was
hit
really stupid
points,
to-
hit points, power points, things like that. So, if you're playing, if the tokens are set up with hit points, then the red actually becomes a bar, and as you take hit points damage, it goes down and then into negatives, etc., etc. So 1, 2, 3. Oh yes, spell. Yes, Bartleby. What's the spell that you're going to be? Which site? Okay then. So what?
And I have an emphasis on where I want to be looking. Of course, I want to use my control of looking at the alarm spell and seeing what that looks like. But then I want to scrutinize Tiffan, see if there's any magic
Okay.
coming from.
So just to let you know, because it lasts for a scene, that's why it says duration standard. So is this something you want to do before you go to sleep, or
Yes.
when you wake up for your watch while you're at watch? So if you do it before you go to sleep, then as soon as you go to sleep, the spell would be cancelled. If you want to wait until you're awake for your watch, then the spell will last for the duration of your watch. But as soon as you go to sleep, after your watch, the spell will be cancelled.
That's a good point. And I'm going to risk waking people up. I'm going to wait until it's my watch time to do that. But I still want to scrutinize Tiffan, especially, see if there's any magic coming
before
from
you go to sleep.
After
Got
for the watch. Once I start my watch and do that, then I'm gonna look and like, are you a wizard?
Yeah. Okay then. So you all settle down. Gulliver, you're obviously awake, and Bartleby and Hazra and Hengist, you sort of like settle down. Gulliver, you're on watch, and Bartleby and Hazra and Hengist, could you make perception rolls for me, please? Yeah, so Bartleby, you go out straight away. Despite Tiffan's snoring, you're soon fast asleep, oblivious to everything, really. Hengist and Hazra, your keen sense of noticing things is really sort of like getting you, making you hear every breath that this Tiffin makes, and all you can hear all the time is a like that. And Hengist and Hazra, you're sort of like tossing and turning now, getting more and more frustrated. Gulliver, you're awake. It's your watch, and you sort of like, you can hear it, Gulliver, but you're not trying. If anything, it's helping you keep you awake. As it comes to the end of Gulliver's watch.
Well, if that's the case, Gulliver will hear Hazra say, "I'm going to kill her."
Yeah.
She will not know.
So I just need to roll on my table to see whether or not anything's going to happen tonight. And on Gulliver's Watch.
Got a 1.
Yeah, on Gulliver's Watch. And no, Gulliver's Watch goes according to plan. So Hazra and Hengist, can you make an endurance roll for me, please, now? Hengist, are you leaving it?
Yeah, I'm going to leave it.
Okay then, Hazra, you managed to get some sleep in the first sort of like watch. Hengist, you don't. You get nothing at all. So I just need to make a note of this. So that's that. Okay then. So second watch is Bartleby. Bartleby, you've had a lovely sleep, and you wake up and the campsite seems a little bit tense as you wake up. Gulliver's ready to turn in. Hengist and Hazra seem to be tossing and turning. They don't seem to be enjoying their night's sleep, and you actually wake up thinking that there's some kind of wild beast attacking the place. You sort of like wake up with us, and then you suddenly hear and look round, and you thought there was a blanket cocoon coming towards you, but it's actually Tiffan, and she's quite noisily snoring.
So Gulliver's obviously heard this right the way through his watch. So he wants to be looking for something that might help him subdue the noise when it's his turn. He sort of like come up with that. Maybe maybe in the rations there might be some like a loaf of bread that we bought with him. So maybe if he gets some of the soft bit of the bread, he might be able to knead it into something that he might be able to put into his into his ears.
So you sort of like take some of the soft part of the bread and sort of like
the dough and
jam it in there.
Yeah, so put it in, and then even if he needs to, he'll try to wrap something around his head. He's safe in the knowledge that if he can fall asleep safely, and that if anything does come, his alarm spell will wake him up, because that sends like tingling through his body.
Okay then, so you've got bread in your ears and thing, and you sort of like settle down, and it becomes Bartleby's watch. So Hazra, Hengist, and Gulliver, you need to roll perception checks for me.
Don't want to.
Now,
use your bread to smother her.
Now, just so you know, what actually happens, Gulliver, because you're taking precautions to put you to sleep, to help you sleep, the difficulty for your perception actually goes up. Does that make sense? Rather than going down.
Because now you're thinking about it.
So your role that you needed to avoid, Gulliver, was Herculean. You've got bread in both ears. The thing, if you had, got anything less than a 2, I think. Yeah. But you're sort of like you.
Gulliver I want to use a point of luck to re-roll it.
Okay then, yeah.
Gulliver's to sleep.
Yeah, and you sort of like adjust the bread in your ears, and wrap, and then you fall off to sleep. Hengist, who is on a roll with his perception tonight.
Hengist has given up sleeping. He's just sitting there in his night sack or whatever.
And
with his arms crossed, just glaring.
To be fair, Hengist is on fire with his perception.
Hengist has never been like this with his perception.
Like tree, fly, snake.
I think Hengist is really annoyed that he keeps putting experience rolls into his perception to make it better.
It's like, take your helmet off, but not magnify the sound.
Okay then. So Bartleby, you're a bit confused. We'll come to your witch sight in a second, but you're sort of like, Gulliver is obviously very still out to the dark, but Hengist and Bartleby, are you sort of like going, are you okay? You know, and there's a lot of grunting and humming and harring. So Hengist and Hazra, you need to make for me your endurance rolls. So you both make them that time. Okay then, thank you. So Bartleby, do you want to just roll your folk magic skill? The spell will come off. I just want to see whether or not it's a fumble or a crit.
Yes, but before I do that, I just want to say I have another prayer I want to cast after I've finished with this, but I do still want to do Witch Sight first. So here's my roll.
Yeah.
Pow.
Yeah, so you sort of like... change your perception and look for signs of magical entities or magical spells. Of course, Gulliver's circle has a faint glow round it. Unfamiliar magic, probably a very bluish glow, I would have thought, but being of the blue order. And you can see that there's no sign of magic emanating from Tiffan at all. Not even a slight bit. You don't even think that she's magically active or anything like that. You think she is totally and utterly completely mundane. They're just out of interest. You obviously scan around and you can't see anything else magical in the cart or around the campsite or above or anything like that. What's the other spell that you would like to?
Quick question before we go to that. Does Bartleby think that, let's say the letter she has is magical, do I think that I would be able to see a little bit of that magic bleeding up or through?
If it was extremely powerful, yes. But it would have to be emanating a huge amount of magical prowess, because how you would perceive it is almost like if somebody lights a torch and sticks it underneath several layers of blanket, you may just see the glow coming through. And if it was powerful enough, but obviously if the torch is weak, it wouldn't come through the blankets.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the second prayer I want to do is sort of just a hypothesis. Seeing that she is still snoring, and I want to try casting the heal prayer, the folk magic, because it mentioned that it can fix things like a hangover or warts. I want to see maybe if Amriel can cure snoring for a few hours.
Okay then. So roll. Is this
folk magic?
Yeah. So it's exhort, isn't it? Yeah. Go for it. So you sort of like almost like slide your hand in the sort of like underneath, because you're going to actually physically have to touch her. And you sort of like slide it underneath the blanket.
Hashtag me too.
Yeah. And sort of
I'm
like
just trying to make it so everybody sleeps.
I do hope that somebody wakes up.
Hengist wakes up while Bartleby's hovering over Tiffan with his hand
what could
inside.
possibly happen?
Tiffan bites his finger off.
And you sort of like move your hand in underneath the blankets, and you almost like touch at the side of her head, and you ask for Amriel's blessing, and you feel the power of Amriel coming through you, and especially since the moon is out. And yeah, it does say that it does complaints such as headache, back pain, hungover, cold, warts, and so on. So yeah, you sort of like, and I think you're probably praying, as in hoping, and you cast the spell, and Tiffin's on it goes, and everything goes quiet, and Bartleby just slowly removes his hand, and Hengist and Hazra, who's been having a real difficult time, sort of like, turn round. And you
I'm
just
deaf.
and you look over where Tiffan is, and you just see Bartleby sort of going. It's like...
and as Bartleby gets back to the wagon and slowly climbs up from Gulliver, you hear.
and for the just as it comes to the start of Hengist's watch, Bartleby has worked his. Oh, hang on! I got to roll a dice.
Oh, I did see that. A 1 again. Oh no!
No flying monkeys this time.
Bartleby comes to the end of his watch, and Hengist, you are awake for the third part of the evening. Tiffan is now fast asleep. The spell will prevent her from snoring for the rest of the night. Just so you know. And she's going to wake up with very clear nasal passages, just so people will be aware of the wonder. Hengist, you're awake, and Bartleby sort of like settles. I mean, Bartleby had no problem sleeping in the first place. He's Hazra, you've drifted off. And Gulliver, you're there with two sort of like bread baps in you. You look a bit like Princess Leia.
It's just bits of dough.
Half a loaf of bread on each ear.
Yeah. With what you know how those people used to have bad toothache used to put So Gulliver's asleep, Tiffin's quiet. Hengist, is there anything you wish to do on your watch?
Well, he obviously is going to be keeping an eye out, and every so often he'll be glancing to make sure that nothing's going on inside the camp as well. He might go for a bit of a stroll around the edge of the campfire, like the light of the campsite, camp light as well. It's like a bit of a patrol whilst he's up on watch. But other than that, he's just going to be keeping an eye out and muttering under himself about lack of sleep and snoring people.
Can you make a perception roll for me? It's just to see what you actually. The first time it matters. Yeah, you don't see anything at all. It seems to be a quiet night. It's a cloudless sky. You think there'll probably be a frost in the morning, and you eventually pass on to Hazra, and for the first time you sort of like roll over and head off to sleep. And Hazra, your final watch, is there anything that you would like to do?
No, I would just like to keep a good eye out while scanning the horizons as I spend my hours just looking around and keeping a good eye out.
Okay, so just make a perception check for me, please. Yeah, and you notice that it's a very clear sky, so the moonlight is quite bright, so you can see from quite a significant way. Nothing seems to be alerting your presence, alerting your knowledge of their presence around, and everything seems to be just normally quiet for out on the plains.
And while that's happening, I also want to just contemplate and just think back to what happened in the forest.
Yeah.
And just run it through my mind and see if I can, how that feeling I felt and why this necklace got hot and just try to work it out in my head why and if to expect it again. He won't come to any conclusions, but he just wants to just think about what happened.
Yeah. And you sort of like pondered this, not sort of like you say, not coming to any great conclusion. And it's while pondering it that the sun sort of like rises, and its arc across the sky is very low, so it's providing little heat. And you probably get the fire going as people wake up, and then Gulliver, I presume you will release the alarm spell.
Yeah, so Gulliver, when he wakes up, the first thing he'll do is sort of like take the 2 little bits of dough out of his ears, and he'll look round to make sure everything's okay, and then he'll look at the piece of dough, and he'll put one in his mouth and just chew it as he gets up. And what he'll do is he'll take part of the line away, if you see what I mean. He'll scrub it out with his boot, and therefore breaking the alarm spell and breaking the spell. And as he walks back to the camp, he'll pop the other bit of dough in his mouth.
And Hazra, you go off and you get your
My traps.
your traps. What was your roll that you got?
18. I reversed it from 81.
Oh yes, yeah, I remember. Yeah, so you've got some kind of probably rabbit or hare or something like that. Maybe a grouse, like a small pheasant or quail, if you would prefer something like that. Completely up to you, one or the other, but not a whole larder full. And
what I'll do is pick up my traps as well and keep them back nice and tight.
And you sort of like all of you have a reasonable breakfast, and then you head off once more on your journey, and you get to the who was that with the cooking? Do you want to cook
that was
them?
me. Well, that's what I got skillful to cook my kill.
Yeah. So you tried to cook them.
Didn't have a reasonable breakfast, did we?
And you either burn them or undercook them. Probably burn them on this case. And
No, is that a proper fumble?
yeah, 99. Anything between 95 and 100 is a fail, no matter what.
That's a fumble, right?
And 99 and 100 is a fumble, unless your skill is greater than 100, and in which case you only fumble on 100. Yeah. So I'm going to move you onto another map.
Is Hengist still cooking tea for people?
No.
Better be.
All right.
No more grass tea?
He's now wearing the pot.
I think Gulliver does wear a pot on his head, doesn't he?
No, not anymore.
It hasn't for a while.
I upgraded.
Yes,
He's got a proper skull cap of some sort now, hasn't he?
Yeah.
A floppy cap thing.
Right. So this is
Got a padded skull cap.
this is what you look like. This is what the terrain looks like at the moment. So those trees, the trees look like that because it's
Full of shrikes.
yeah, the tops are being cut off. So Gulliver, you're having to now actually steer a lot more. It's not a problem. You don't need to keep doing a ride roll, a drive roll, or anything like that. It's just that beforehand you would be able to just let Brutus go from one to the other. Now you're going to have to almost like steer him through.
Well,
Yeah.
as you said, while he's doing that, could Hazra maybe grab onto Brutus's ring at the front with a bit of rope at the front, and maybe just guide in the way that we need to go as well to help out.
So Tiffan is sort of like giving directions at the moment, and so she's up there, and every now and again she goes that way or that way, and sometimes Gulliver, you say, "Is this the way?" And she just goes, "Yeah," or straight on, and it seems as if Tiffan knows the direction to go.
Gulliver wants to, after a couple of times that she's given the directions. Gulliver wants to say, "Were you with Annalin when the house was attacked, Tiffin?"
And she sort of like looks at you and says, "Left or right." And she seems to be very if you want to influence her, to try to persuade her, then you can roll.
No, I mean it was my idea to do that when I had the food. I mean it was my idea to almost like treat her as a pet, not realizing that she had
As a pet?
Well,
she's not a piece of meat.
It was obvious that she likes the food. She likes to eat. So it was Gulliver's thing that he had this food on his lap.
Okay.
And he asked a basic question like, do you like working for Annalin? And he then offered her, a bit of the meat almost. So it was almost like, you answer the question, you get more of the food, not knowing that she had better food than we. We've got trail rations. She's got sort of like fresh fruit and veg.
So what about Hengist and Bartleby? Hazra's up at the front, guiding Brutus. Obviously, Gulliver and Tiffan are on the driver's seat, helping to steer Brutus through. Gulliver is helping to steer. Tiffan's giving directions. And Bartleby and Hengist, whereabouts would you like to be in relation to the cart?
Bartleby would like to be in the back of the cart.
Okay.
He's a bit of a clumsy person, and forests are good places to trip.
Okay. And what about Hengist?
Hengist is trailing behind the cart. He's walking a couple of paces, a pace behind the back of the cart. And then he'll say to Bartleby, and sort of like just be idling and say, How did you sleep last night? I couldn't get to sleep at all.
Well, Amriel's priests teach us great exercises for falling asleep as quickly as possible and waking with enough energy to worship the moons properly. I slept perfectly. This wonderful night, back with friends on the road, off on adventures.
Normally that would set me off as well, and I'd be fast asleep straight away, almost before my head hits my bedroll. But I couldn't get to sleep last night. There was something that was keeping me. Something, and when he says something, his eyes move from Bartleby's face to the back of Tiffan's head, and there's like a sour expression in his face. And then he looks back at Bartleby, says, "Something kept me awake last night for a long time."
Oh, yeah. Well, I heard the noises that were loud, and I thought I'd ask Amriel to do something about that. Certainly, I had my doubts of whether Amriel would be caring about our night's sleep, but...
So that was you that... thank you, Bartleby.
Amriel,
but... Thank you, Bartleby. Let's hope it doesn't happen again tonight.
It surely will, if it's a... It seems like it will come back.
Just so you're aware of the rules. So, Hengist, you had one stroke against you. If you got another one, so if you got 2 fails on your endurance roll, then... So, perception roll means you have to roll endurance. Endurance rolls means if you fail that, you get a point. If you get 2 points, when you wake up, you will have 1 level of fatigue.
I thought it would be like that.
And so, because you're literally not sleeping. So, yeah, Bartleby, you sort of like helped. Well, yes, I hate to think what would happen. Okay, then. So, what you start to go through the forest, and we're going to stop there for the break. But just as you're only about just after midday, when you come across what appears to be a clearing, and Hazra, you sort of like see this clearing ahead, and you stop the cart a little way from the edge of the clearing. You can see that it's up ahead, and so you're still in the forest, but you can see the clearing up ahead. And I will let you know what you see in the clearing when we come back from our break. So it's 8:35 here, 8:34. So we will be back after 10 minutes. So probably 10 minutes now. So about 8:45 or quarter to the hour, we will be back. And so please do come back and see us in the second half. Until then, we go off and have yourself a drink and take a break, and we'll see you soon.
he's.
Okay.
He's just tardy.
We'll go for it. Yeah, I put. They all the chat was saying, "Where are you? Where?" I said, "We're waiting for the pickles."
I'm sorry, my food took too long to cook.
It is cooked,
Excuse
isn't
me,
it?
isn't that what the wife's for?
Sugar
I'm home on
Wooga.
Saturdays, and that's what I'm for. I'm the cook.
Yes.
No, I didn't mean it like that. I meant, we do it all the time, but when you have to do something, then it would only be nice.
I didn't mean it like that.
Carry on.
So, if you remember, we left you approaching a clearing, and what I'm just for the ease of playing the game, well, I'm going to move you, not your character's tokens, not the cart or anything like that, and I'm going to move you to the map so you can see the clearing, and and everything on it, and then you can see the distances, etc., etc. So let me just go to the big screen, and I'm going to, so you'll have no characters on this screen, but hopefully you can see the screen.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so the first thing that you notice is that, just to let you know, the brown bit down the middle is not a through road. It's just where there's been a lot of walking in the general area. These look like fruit trees down at the bottom around here. They're not. They're just the forest thinning out. There are things like the ladder, the cart, bits of crate there. All those are there, and they seem to be exactly how they are now. So they almost like have a feeling of being left rather than stored neatly away. You can see that this part of the landscape, can you see where I'm? Is actually a hill. So this here is a doorway. Think of hobbit holes and things like that. You can quite easily see here there's a chimney, and there is a faint drift of smoke coming out of it. This here it looks like a vegetable garden that was once planted up in neat rows, although it looks now as if somebody has tossed and moved things all over the place. Some of the trees down here have got fruit on them, but you notice that the apples or whatever fruit it is on the ground. It looks like it's dropped off and is just sort of like decaying on the ground. It looks like, they haven't been picked in time or something like that. The ground here is all muddy. It's not waterlogged or anything like that. It just looks used. And you can see where there's general paths that come into the lower hanging trees. This to the left, to the right, sorry, there seems to be another here. This is another entrance to another sort of like small hillock. This one to the right is very ornate. That one on the left side, the one on the left looks like a proper doorway. It's got like a little porch over it. It's got a wooden door in. The one to the right just seems to be a doorway with a door on it. You also notice before, could you all make for me some perception rolls? Just when it becomes important, Hengist can't see a thing. So Gulliver made his, Bartleby didn't make his, Hazra did make his. So Hazra and Gulliver, you sort of like look out. You see the smoke coming from the chimney. You also look in the general area roundabout. Your perception, both of there, is that there seems to be nothing here. There seems to be no movement, nothing hiding in the trees or anything. It's quite strange, Hazra, because you can't even hear bird noise in this area.
I was going to say there's normally. Normally, so there'd be some sound of animals moving around, birds, anything.
Yeah, and there's not at all.
Can Gulliver turn to Tiffin and almost say in a more like a hushed tone rather than sort of like his normal voice? He'll say, "Is this Annalin's?"
And she sort of like looks up at you and goes,
"Okay,"
and just nods.
So Gulliver wants to get off the
yeah,
cart.
so you probably left the cart further back and came to the edge to see this, so you're on foot at the moment, but you can all go back to the cart if that's what you wish to do, or you can give me actions that you want to actually do from where you are at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, so we want our Gulliver a motion for everybody to come back away from the edge of the clearing.
Okay, yeah.
So we'll probably go back up the road a bit to where the cart is, and he'll say, "This is Annalin's. I couldn't really see any signs of life.
No.
I thought I'd probably. I'm going to go and scout it out.
Can I just stop you there, Gulliver? There was smoke coming from the chimney. Now, that is a sign of life, because this person is supposed to have been dead for. It wasn't yesterday, was it? So who is banking the fire? Who's keeping the fire going in there?
Well, I don't know. How long does a fire keep going for?
You know fire, Gulliver. You've been camping with us many a time. They do not last long. You have to put the logs on and the twigs and bank it up again to keep it going. You know how it doesn't last a night, does it?
So we're saying that there's Tiffin, apart from you and Annalin and Annalin's grandma, was there anybody else in the house?
And she just sort of like looks at you. She thinks for a while and goes, "No."
Was there anybody who used to come and visit? Maybe.
She goes, "No."
Well, there we have it.
And how do we know this is Annalin's house? We only had Tiffin's word. We had Tiffin's word for it, and that's it. Are we being hired as potential robbers?
Tiffin, didn't you have a letter for us? Is this the right time for this letter?
No, the letter's after we've got the book.
Yeah, and Hengist, once you mention it, as Gulliver starts to speak, Tiffin's hand sort of like comes across and sort of like as almost as if she's been shot in the heart, and she puts it both hands over her sort of like her jacket where the envelope is, and she almost like lowers her head slightly and gazes at you in a rather fearsome way over the from the top of her eyes, and she just says, "After book. After you've got the book."
Right, okay. Sorry, Tiffin.
Tiffin, I think you should stay with the wagon while we look ahead.
And she sort of like shrugs as if to say, "Okay." And just to let you know, as she was driving for the rest of the morning, she's been going as a wonderfully clear nasal passages. But you notice that they started to slowly clog up as the spell wears off.
Refilling for the night ahead.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you just wait here, I'll quickly go and have a look see to see what's to see whether or not there's anybody about. I won't be long. And Gulliver's going to he's going to.
Sorry, can I ask, as soon as Gulliver says that, can he put his hand on his shoulder and say, Gulliver, you're not the person to be going ahead and scouting.
I'm not going ahead and scouting, Hazra.
You just said you were going to head and scout and see what was inside the building.
No, I said I was going to have a look. There's a difference. The way that I is a way that you never want to look. I look through eyes that you never want to see through, Hazra.
Well, no, I don't want. No, you're right. But
and with that, Gulliver's going to sort of like he's going to sit down, cross-legged, and he's going to turn to Bartleby, who's got a mouthful of pizza, and say, Bartleby, if you need me, kick me, but don't kick me hard. Just kick me enough so that I know that you need me.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I won't Angus kick you.
Yeah, and with that, Gulliver wants to start casting a spell. So he's sat down cross-legged and he'll close his eyes, and when he opens them, they'll be all watery. But there's two spells that I'm going to be casting in conjunction with each other. I'm going to be projecting my sense of sight, and I'm also going to be projecting my sense of hearing.
Okay.
So I'm going to be combining the two spells together.
Yeah.
Which I believe make it harder.
Yeah.
So the duration is just going to be normal. It's going to give me 15 minutes. The range that should be enough. That's going to be
what's your power?
15 minutes. This is going to be like 75 meters. Is that going to be enough from where we are to get to the house, or does it need to be more? 150 meters.
150 meters. It'll need to be.
Okay. Target is 1. Components. How many components did I modify? 1. So it will be 150 meters. Duration will be 15 minutes. So my total casting is going to be 3 points.
Okay.
Because it's 2 normally, but there's going to be another point because I'm combining 2 spells together. And it also takes up the difficulty by 1, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken.
So now it'll be, instead of standard, it'll be a hard success.
But can I take minutes?
Yes, if you wish to take minutes.
To cast it, and the roll is that.
Yeah.
I got 54. I'll have it as hard. It's fine.
No, you took minutes.
Okay.
You can't say I'm going to take minutes, and when you get a better roll, say no, I won't. So you take your minutes of it, and everybody sits round as Gulliver's eyes sort of like water over. What would you like to do?
So once I've got my senses projected, I want to start moving towards the house.
Okay. Yeah.
Are there? I mean, we did. I don't know whether or not we could see from where we were. Are there any windows, or is it just 2 doors?
Could you type it in Discord to me, because you'll be able to see things preempting what the rest of the party. And we can't do the situation that something might happen, which means that the others would not know.
Okay.
As Gulliver sort of like drifts off into some sleep state, what's the rest of you wanting to do? Is the idea just to sit and wait?
Yeah, I think so. We'll sit and wait because we wouldn't think Gully would be too long.
Sorry, I was typing funny in Discord. And what Hazra will do, he will be scouting around and just looking around to make sure anybody's not creeping up on us.
Okay. While you're doing that, Hazra, you sort of like think back about the story that Annalin gave about the big beast, and you sort of like think it might be a good idea just to check around. So you can make a tracking roll for me, please.
I will be looking up in the trees as well after last night's episode.
Yeah.
So he'll be checking the trees and everywhere. A tracking skill is going to be a 94 out of 89. Can I use a point of luck to turn that, please, to 46? Thank you. That'll be a hard out of 6.
Yeah. So you sort of like look around. There doesn't seem to be any large tracks of felines at all anywhere around it. There does seem to be the odd footprint, the odd boot print here and there, but you don't think they're recent. You think they're rather they're a lot older.
Gulliver's duration's only 15 minutes, so he's not going to spend a lot of time doing what he's doing.
Yeah. There you go. Hengist and Bartleby, is there anything that...
So Hengist will be, he'll say to Bartleby, do you know of any stories of giant cats wandering in this area? Or I know there are plenty of wolves because we've come across them in the past, but are there stories of mountain lions or anything like that?
Well, in fact, there are. One of my favorite stories growing up was the tales
Once upon a time
of the children who got lost in the woods. My mother would always tell me not to wander in the woods, and it's mostly because of stories that got passed down with children being taken by what you can only imagine as monsters. But what I was told is the goblins who ride on wolfback. They hunt you down and tear you to pieces and feed their wolves part of your organs.
Just roll an auditory, an oratory skill.
I was going to say, as this voice whisks through the woods, you'll see Hazra wander back with a lovely, passive smile on his face, leaning against a tree and just nodding.
What I was thinking that all the forest woodland animals,
creatures,
fly a bit like Snow White.
Yeah. Because once Bartleby talks, it's like, yeah.
And you notice, Bartleby, that when you're relating this story to Hengist, even Tiffan has sort of like taken an interest and sort of like moved her legs round to the opposite side of the cart, so she's facing you and sort of like looking at you as you tell this story. Are you done, Gulliver?
Yeah, so Gulliver's going to he closes his eyes again and opens them. And when he opens them, they're just his bluey greeny eyes as normal, and he'll stand up and he'll say, "There's somebody in the house."
I told you there was somebody there. There's a smoke coming up the chimney.
Who?
There's an old lady sat by the fire.
Oh, Grandma must be fine. That's good news for you, huh, Tiffan?
I didn't see anybody else.
Bartleby and Gulliver, roll an insight roll for me, please.
There was no dead bodies.
Can I use a point of luck to reroll?
Yeah.
Can I just keep my...
Yeah, you notice, Gulliver, as you're presenting this news, that Tiffin, for the first time ever, has started to almost like take an interest in the conversation, And as you're saying things, Gulliver, she's looking at you, and then Bartleby says something, and she looks at Bartleby, and she's sort of like almost like following the conversation round, and she's never done this before at all. She's always been, you know, head down, not engaged at all, and she's not commenting. And there's your insight roll doesn't. She seems to be giving nothing away on her face at all. But
Gulliver's noticed her sort of like taking an interest, and this
she's definitely taking an interest now. Yeah.
So Gulliver wants to. He's going to stop, and he's going to. And he's going to look at her, and he's going to say, "Tiffan, is there anything that you want to?
Oh no! go and sort it out."
Cat wars.
Go on. He's going to. Do you want me to wait, or should I carry on?
No, I'm just interested what he comes back. The next thing I imagine is Mr. Pickles coming back on the camera wrestling with a cat. Mr. Pickles, I'm just saying that we expect you to come back on wrestling with a cat.
Nobody expects Mr. Pickles to come back with a cat.
Have you sorted it?
Yeah, there's just a cat in the backyard, and my cat is at the window, and she didn't like that there's a cat in the backyard. So she decided to attack the window.
Yeah, sorry, go for it, Gulliver. Sorry.
So Gulliver wants to use an influence role here, because he's going to say, "Tiffan, is there anything that you want to share with us? Because, well, what Annalin said had happened here doesn't seem to have happened, and I mean, to be honest with you, we're just going to go back. And then Annalin's not going to be too pleased with either you or us. But we're not really bothered because, well, we don't work for him."
Well, are you trying to influence her to...
I'm trying to influence her to give more information, otherwise we're going to...
Yeah, so I need to know what information you're trying to get.
I'm trying to get more information of what's going on, what she knows that we don't. I mean, as far as Gulliver knows, that she was there when this attack happened, but then there's no sign of dead bodies or an attack or anything.
Tiffan was hired in as an apprentice in Lindo. You don't know whether or not she was actually at the attack place, but you can see whether or not she knows any more information. So roll your influence.
Yeah, I was just finding it. I want to use a point of luck to reverse those two numbers, please.
Yeah, okay then. So you sort of like try to cajole her properly rather than getting angry or anything like that, and you're sort of like trying to get more information, and she's a very stubborn teenager, you know, that any parents watching will know exactly what she's like. And she sort of like looks at you, and she sort of like looks around, and you can see her thinking a lot, as if she's trying to sort something out in her head. And then she sort of like looks at you and sort of like says, "We need to get the books."
Is that all you have to share with us, Tiffan?
"We need to get the books."
Well, it looks like Annalin's grandmother's not actually mauled to death by a large cat. So the chances are she's not going to want to give us the books.
And she sort of like looks, and she says, "I'll get them." And she turns her legs off and slips off the wagon, and she sort of like lowers herself down to the ground.
Hazra will step in front of her, and he'll say, "Tiffan, We are not common footpads. We do not rob old ladies in houses. Your master told us this was his grandmother and she was dead, torn apart by a large beast. But no, this is not true. There is no sign here of any disturbance. So please tell us what is going on here.
Roll your insight.
Oh, joy.
One of your key.
My key skills,
Yeah.
yes.
And
Tree.
she's almost like giving nothing away. Your influence skill would be more suited to sort of like trading and sort of like reacting in nomadic situations. And Tiffin almost, and Bartleby, you probably picked this up already, seems to be a little bit more almost like a gutter snipe of some description, somebody who sort of like brought themselves up on the streets. You all start to get this impression of thinking how little you actually know about Tiffin, and what her connection actually is to Annalin, and whether or not there's been any how long she's been in Lindo, where was she beforehand, and even you sort of like think back to the encounter that you had at the Hairy Hobgoblin, and you almost like start to think what an unbelievably strange mix. Does that make sense? It's almost as if they were complete two.
Yeah, two sides of the same coin, but complete opposites. Sorry, yes.
Complete
chalk and cheese.
Complete opposite altogether. And
Gulliver's going to turn around to Bartleby and say, I think we need to go and talk to the old woman in the house and find out exactly what's happened, Bartleby.
And Tiffin hears you say this, Gulliver, and says, and agrees with you and says, yeah, let's go talk to her.
Well, there's no need for you to come, Tiffin. Me and Bartleby's quite capable of speaking to an old lady. Why don't you wait here and watch the wagon, and then when we bring the book back, you can give us the letter.
Yes, and she says, when you're saying that, even before you mention the letter, she when you're telling her that she has to stay at the wagon, she sort of like puts her hand over the jacket where the letter is, and she sort of like says to you, what about the letter?
Well, when we come back, you can. Well, do you want to give us the letter now, or do you want to wait?
Once you say that, she almost like puts her hand back over the letter and sort of like takes a step back into you, Hazra, and says, "No."
Well, just wait here until we get the text message, till we get the book, and then.
She sort of says, I need to go in the house.
No, you do not need to go in the house.
And she turns around to you, Hazra, and says, well, I don't think any of you can stop me.
Hengist?
I think if she's that insistent on going into the house, so I think we should all go.
No. Hengist, that is not what I mean. She should not go in the house, Hengist.
And she sort of like listens to Hengist and says, I agree with him.
Well, to be honest,
to let you, the reason I got my hand here, I don't know if you can see, but she's
you having a seizure?
No, she's constantly saying it with her hand over where.
I'd phoned the police.
Cough.
Yeah.
Cough.
Well, hopefully, if I'm having a seizure, you haven't phoned the police. Maybe an ambulance might be a bit more appropriate.
Depends which kind of seizure.
Outside the house, so I could come down and get your computer.
She sort of like just like says, I agree with him. And they're silent, and she says, I'll go with him. And she sort of like
going anywhere.
Which is fine because Hengist is staying here.
She moves herself over to Hengist, and she sort of like looks at you, Hengist, and says, we'll go together.
I think we should all go together. because
and
this
Tiffin,
reminds me of a
No.
tale.
Tiffin picks up on that, Bartleby, and sort of like goes, "Yeah, we could all go. I
Yeah.
agree with him." And she sort of like points her hand at you and says, points at you and says, "I want to go.
just say,
I agree with Hazra.
Tiffin,
I agree with Hazra."
Tiffin, can I just say, we are strangers. We are going to see an old woman in the woods. I grew up in the wilderness in the woods. You do not simply turn up to somebody's dwelling as a mass unless you're attacking the place. You go up in a passive way if you want the information. You go there, you knock on the door, say, "Hello, we are coming through here, but we want to know if you're okay or if you need anything."
Gulliver wants to, as Hazra's talking, he wants to start moving behind Tiffin, sort of like moving slowly behind her.
Yeah, as in just going to stand behind her, or are you?
Yeah, just sort of like standing just slightly behind her and not or just off to one side.
Yeah, and she sort of like sees you get off the
But
thing.
if she sees or if she starts to turn, I'll be like, "Tiffin, look at me. I'm talking to you. You do not go to somebody's house with a group of people. You go one person or two people just to knock on the door and find out what's going on."
Hazri, you're saying all this, and she seems to be taking no notice of you, and she sort of like
Tiffin, can we see your letter?
And all of a sudden, she seems to get almost like really worried. And you notice that her eyes are started to flick from one to another now. Almost like going da 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 da. And you notice, Gulliver, just as you get to where you are, you notice that she has started to sort of like back away. She doesn't look like she's going into combat at all. She looks like she's really scared. As the three of you are sort of like Hazra going in for one side, Gulliver, she's seen you come round to one side, and she sort of like keeps flicking back from one to another, and she's slowly backing away. Anybody who would like to make an insight roll can do at this point.
I want to interrupt with an action, but
insight rolls first. Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to insight.
Oh, yes.
Angus made a social skill.
Yeah, brilliant. Gulliver and Hazra. No. Okay then. So Bartleby and Hengist. Bartleby, you've seen this look a lot, and you've probably seen it of the children who are about to get told off Hengist in families. You've seen it a lot, Bartleby, when children are being approached on the street. She doesn't look like she's going for combat or anything. She almost like looks as if she's completely and utterly panicked and almost like scared, as if she wasn't expecting this at all.
Mr. Pickles wants to do an action.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'd like for Bartleby to start into almost like he's starting into an oratory kind of check to try and command everybody to slow down for a second. What he's actually doing is the prayer of calm targeted towards Tiffin. And interspersing in the prayer, he's saying, we're all going to stay calm for a moment, and then we'll talk about the plan where we all go in a way that's careful. Here's my folk magic roll.
Okay.
Standard. And then following, you do have a willpower save against that. And then Bartleby suggests we all go, but we go in two groups. The first of us, perhaps myself and Gulliver or myself and Hazra, go to the door and talk with the little lady and see what's going on. The rest of you coming behind, and when we give the signal, then you meet up with us. And we all resolve this confusing situation together.
And you sort of like cast the spell, and you notice that the look of panic she did actually pass her willpower test, but your roll is higher, so you get it. But what you actually see her, she sort of like, you sort of like say these things, and you sort of like as you're saying it, she almost like nods rapidly and sort of like moves herself over to you, Bartleby, as if it's some kind of protective, as if you're offering her some kind of protection, you know. And she sort of like agrees and nods her head, and she sort of like says, I go with him.
No, that wasn't the plan.
Well, this is where we decide the plan of the two groups. Tiffan, no offense, but I feel you should be in the second group, because we have a certain way of dealing with things in our cohort group, and we want to make sure no problems arise. The books will probably be gone, you know. I'll just gotta keep cool here. Hazard, stay calm.
Hazard's away from keyboard.
I know, that's why I said it.
And she sort of like thinks for a moment, and then she says, "Who?" She doesn't say this. This is me. Sorry. Who did you say was going in first?
I had suggested that it be myself and Gulliver, or myself and Hazra. But
yeah, and she sort of like looks at Hazra and looks at you. She sort of like scans round everybody incredibly quickly, and you can all tell she's almost like trying to formulate some kind of plan, and she sort of like you almost like can see the penny dropping at one point. And she turns to you, Bartleby, and says, she doesn't sort of like turn her back on everybody. She just points at you and says, yeah, you should go. But she doesn't know you. Best to take me, because she knows me.
That's a good point.
How does she know you, Tiffin? I didn't think you had been here before.
She knows me.
Did you work with Annalin here
Yes.
as an apprentice?
Yes.
I've
been here loads of times. Loads of times.
Do you think the lady will be receptive to us showing up?
Can I try to read her?
You can make an insight check, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, she seems to be telling the truth. If anything, she seems to be a lot calmer now than she was before.
So why would Annalin say this lady is dead when clearly she is alive?
She sort of like gives you a rather harsh stare, Hazra, and she says, "Ask Annalin."
The plan is that Tiffin, you will wait here with Hazra and Hengist, and me and Bartleby will go and speak.
She sort of like looks at Hengist and Hazra. Is that who? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. She sort of like.
Yeah, I agree with that.
She sort of like looks at both Hengist and Hazra, and she says, "I'm not staying with them. They don't like me. He doesn't like me at all." Pointing at Hazra.
I neither dislike or like you, child. I'm neutral because you're a child.
I'm not. I hate you. I'm not staying with him.
Oh.
That's fine. I have many people who hate me, but I just live my life.
Well, he thinks he's my dad.
Oh.
I don't know your mother, so it can't be true. But do I know? No, I don't.
My mother's dead.
Did you kill her?
She's sort of like really sort of like taken back by that, and she sort of like backs away sort of like behind you, Bartleby, and said, "Told you, I'm not staying with him. He's talking about killing people."
Understandable, and he's very good at killing people, by the way, Tiffin. My suggestion here is I'll stay back. Perhaps Gulliver, Hazrat, you two go forward and see what you can find out. see if the situation is.
No. Take Hengist. What I will do is I will stay away from the child, but I will have a look. I'll make sure you are all safe here. So if Hengist goes with Gulliver, in which case, because I mean he's an official. Well, he was an official of Lindo, so he will know how to comport himself that way.
Tiffan, does that sound acceptable to you?
So Gulliver and Hengist are going to the door.
Yes.
Bartleby's Tiffan can stay with you, Bartleby. And what's Hazra doing, sorry?
Staying like several meters away.
Yeah, I will be scouting around to make sure we're safe.
Okay then, yeah.
But while I'm doing that, I will be watching Tiffin to make sure Tiffin and Bartleby in my sight.
Yeah. Okay.
Before heading off, Gulliver wants to position himself in front of Bartleby so that Tiffin can't see his face, so that Tiffin can't see, and he's going to say, could I have the blessing of Amriel before I go?
Of course, Gulliver.
Gulliver wants to put his hand on, as he says, Gulliver wants to put his hand on Bartleby's shoulder, and I want to cast a spell as well.
Oh no.
Okay, yeah. Cast away.
So the spell that I want to cast is that.
Did you take both the magic points off for your last two spells?
I did indeed. Yeah. I am now on 8 magic points out of 15.
I was just reading it, and it says each additional spell added using combined costs 1 extra magic point.
Yeah, so I took 3 off for that because it was 2 to cast the spell.
Got you. Brilliant.
1 for my my what do you call it, and then I used my my telepathy spell as well, which was 2.
Yeah, so that's all right. You can just roll to see whether or not it's a critical or a fumble. You will feel you'll feel Gulliver's mind pressing against yours again, Bartleby. So I don't think you would probably resist it. It just means that Gulliver will be in constant communication with you when he goes to.
Well, this is only going to last for. He's going to say
15 minutes.
Yeah, it's me, Gulliver. I don't know how the range would work though. Is it the cast range, or is it the range, the maximum range that I could go? Because I've done touch as the cast range.
No, the range will be. Your range will be.
Well, you've done it over a city before, so.
Yeah.
Yes, but no, he
hasn't He hasn't used any shaping.
Right.
I haven't used any shaping, but I didn't know whether or not.
You would. Yeah, you have to. This is what going back to what Hazra said. This you did it. Oh, can you remember? What we decided was that it's not the casting range that you do. It's the maximum range that you want the telepathy to be at.
All right. In which case, I'm going to have to expend another point of magic because
that's cool.
It will be one of the components will have been altered.
Yeah.
Another one of the components would have been altered, if you see what I mean. Because even though I'm touching him to cast the spell, the range would be for the house, if you see what I mean. So it would be like 3 points of shaping.
Yeah. So
so as soon as he casts it, he'll say, Bartleby, it's me, Gulliver. And that's what Bartleby will hear in his mind. And he'll say, I don't trust her, Bartleby. She wants to be she wants to get into the house. I think maybe that she wants to harm the old lady. It's best to keep her out.
Out loud, Bartleby will say, yes, I agree, and I think so. A blessing of protection is what you need, Gulliver. And I will enter into the doing this, a little folksy magic.
Yep. Yeah, that's brilliant. So just remember.
And then I want to hail down Hengist once I get a chance.
Do you want to cast it on?
I want to cast something else on Hengist.
Okay, cool.
Because he has a mighty suit of armor, and I'm not sure what will happen here, but I want you to stay safe. Oh, what's this? A spirit shield. Is the prayer I want to cast. Keep evils from his mind.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. So you now have this. Any spirit that wishes to attack or possess you must overcome the spell. So.
Could I use a point of luck to reverse it so it's a 51, so it would be harder?
Yeah.
I would like to spend that then.
Yeah. By winning the opposed test of their willpower again. Yeah. So against the caster's folk magic skill, not your roll.
Oh, so using a point of luck to reverse
that's
it
what
wouldn't
it
help
says,
at all.
I think. Must overcome the spell by winning an opposed test of their willpower against the caster's folk magic skill. It doesn't mention. Let me just check it in the actual book, because sometimes it's.
You copy stuff wrong.
No, sometimes it copies things wrong because it's picking it up from the.
I just cut and paste my spell description.
It literally says the willpower against the caster's folk magic skill. So what we'll do, we'll see how it goes this time, but I will make inquiries about what happens. Okay then, so that's on Hengist, and protections on Gulliver. Hazra is scouting around but keeping in earshot and eyeshot of Bartleby and Tiffin. And Tiffin and Bartleby, are you staying on the cart or are you getting off the cart?
I'll probably stay on the cart.
Okay.
And try and do something to entertain Tiffin or make the time pass a little bit quicker.
Tell her a story.
Okay then. So let's move over to this screen where we've got Gulliver and Hengist. You should be on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Hazra, you won't know what's happening. Bartleby, you will know what's happening because you're in telepathy with Gulliver. Yeah. Okay then. So yeah, Hengist and Gulliver, it's down to you.
So we're going to start walking along, and I'll as we're walking, I'll say to Hengist, "You might hear me saying a few half truths, Hengist, but just go along with it, okay?"
Okay. I understand.
And keep your sword in its scabbard unless it's needed.
Of course, it will stay where it's needed.
Okay, so the plan is that Gulliver and Hengist will go to the door. Gulliver will go to the door, and he'll motion for Hengist just to stand slightly behind him.
Okay.
So Hengist will stand sort of like a pace to half a pace.
Okay then. So before you get to the door, could you just roll, both of you roll a perception check for me, please?
I've made 2 out of 4.
Are you using a point of luck, Gulliver? No. Okay, Hengist, now that you're sort of like out into this clearing, as you walk across, you start to get more of a sense of something that's happened here, because beforehand, if you remember, it looked like the crates and the ladders, etc., had been left, but now that you're actually walking through it, there seems to have been some kind of struggle. You notice that the crates that were on the floor are smashed, bits hanging out. You notice that the vegetable patch to your right, it it's literally been, everything's been overturned. At a distance, it just looked like it had been disturbed. Now you can see that there's actually bits of vegetable over here, over here. You also notice that the general state of this area is really, it looks like there's been some kind of lots of movement in here as you both walk. Are you planning on telling Gulliver as you get across?
When Hengist has noticed this and he's looked around and he's seen it a few different places, the same sort of signs, Hengist will say, Gulliver, how long ago did Annalin say the attack happened?
Do you not listen to anything that happens, Hengist? It was 2 days ago.
Because there seems to have been a struggle or a lot of movement. I mean, look over there. The garden patch has clearly had something go through it. Those crates over there have been smashed open, but everything seems to have been overgrown over the top. So I would have thought that's not going to happen in a couple of days, is it? It'll take, you know, I would have thought weeks for it to be overgrown over the top of skirmish or something like that. This is starting to feel a bit odd to me.
Well, the only way that we're going to get answers is to speak to somebody who's here.
I agree. But I think we need to have our guard up even more than we have previously. It might be innocent. It might just be another old lady that's moved in.
I don't think this is the place to have this type of conversation, Hengist. She's going to hear us if we're not careful. Let's go.
Okay.
Gulliver's going to head up towards the door.
Yeah.
And stopping at the door, he's going to knock politely twice.
Okay.
And wait.
And as you wait there, we're going to zoom back to the forest. Okay, I just need to roll a 1d4. Bartleby and Hazra, I'm going to roll a 1d4. You need to pick numbers for yourself and a number for Tiffan.
Take 2. Medivac's muted, so he'll take 3.
No, it'd be number 2.
No.
I'll take number 3.
Okay, so Bartleby, you're number 3.
So you both choose number 2.
Yeah, but
She's number 2, sorry.
Bartleby's number 3. Hazra's number 2. What do you want Tiffan to be?
1 and 4.
She only gets 1.
I'm kidding.
Do
Yeah,
you want it with 1 then?
yeah.
Yeah. So Tiffin's 1, Hazra's 2, Bartleby's 3. Okay, here comes the dice roll. 1.
Bartleby, Unreal is the best.
Praise be to Amriel for attacking Tiffan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay then.
Is that it?
Yeah. Not.
Who are we back to?
Nothing.
Are they saying?
Are you guys just want to carry on doing what you're doing out at the wagon?
Yeah, again, I mean, if possible, Hazra would like to sort of blend in. So if Tiffin's looking for him, he wants to try and use his stealth just to like merge in with the background.
Yeah, Tiffin seems to be paying no attention to you at all.
Brilliant stuff.
She's listening to Bartleby's story. Yeah, so...
as I'm going around, I will be looking up and down and around as well.
Yeah, so Gulliver's just done 2 knocks at the door. And there's no reply.
Do you want to knock again, Gulliver?
She was very old, and Master Healy sometimes had difficulty hearing me call for help when my spell casting went wrong. So maybe I will just. No,
Maybe a bit louder.
You knock, Hengist.
I think this will he'll knock 3 times smartly, but quite loudly.
Okay then. This is going to. I'm not seeing whether or not you break the door down, but can you just roll your brawn skill for me, since you're tapping a little bit louder? I just need to check it. Yeah, so you give some really firm raps on the door. Could you both make perception rolls for me, please? Yeah, you don't hear anything from inside at all.
Perhaps she's in the other one, behind the other door. This is kid in the house.
How many rooms away is she?
Say again, sorry.
How many rooms away is she? Is she in the room directly through this door?
That's where she was. Yeah.
Gulliver will say, "No, she was just sat. She was just sat through here by the fire.
Yes.
I don't think she was asleep."
Oh.
Was she? Can Gulliver remember what was she? Did she look like she was asleep, or was she?
No, she was rocking on a rocking chair. She might even have had some crocheting out.
She definitely was. She definitely wasn't asleep. Gulliver wants to lift the latch on the door and push it open.
Okay, so you lift the latch of the door and you push the door inwards as it opens, and you sort of like look into the room, and the room's sort of like circular. I'll show you it in a second, but you notice that the woman, the elderly woman, is stood behind the rocking chair, almost like using it as some kind of a barrier, some kind of protection, and she seems to have in her other hand a poker from the fire. You also notice that there's seems to be down on the floor some kind of porcelain object, maybe a cup that has been knocked to the floor, and it's sort of like lying in 2 pieces. There's some damp on the floor, and she sort of like is waving this poker at you. Both of you stood in the doorway, and she says, "Go away! I have a weapon, and I am not afraid to use it."
Gulliver's
Hang on,
almost.
we're just going to nip back to... I just realised that the title of this map says Grandma's Hole. It was obviously not the best.
No.
and the inside one says Inside Grandma.
That's even worse.
Oh God, there's no time at bank camp. God.
Okay, I need... You're keeping the same dice rolls as before, I presume. Yeah. So 1,
Tiffan.
1. There's 4 of them. 2 and 2.
Oh, I'm number 2.
Right. So Hazra, you see this. This happens to you first. Okay, then. So. This comes to you, something hits you on your 9.
Which is my abdomen.
Okay, and something hits you on your 2.
Which is my right leg as always.
Okay, how much armor is on your abdomen and your right leg?
2 points.
2 points. Okay, then. So something hits you in your abdomen or on your leg. You sort of like, it's been thrown from high up in the trees, and it's like been hurled down at you, and nothing penetrates through your armor. It sort of like impacts on it, and your linen cloth armor sort of like absorbs the thing, and you notice one hits you on the abdomen. You sort of like look around, and then all of a sudden one hits you on the leg, and you look down at the road, and there's 2 apples on the ground, and at the same time that happens, Bartleby, you sort of like see how's it go like this. At the same time, Tiffan goes, "Ow!" like this, and you feel the spray of a rather rotten apple that hits her. The first one hits her on the on the 5, which is her
Left leg,
and the other one hits her on her 12.
12's chest.
Chest, yeah. And the one that hits her on the chest, all that goes, it actually hits her on her back, but that general area, and it sort of like hits us, goes like this, and there's bits of apple flying all over the place. Bartleby and Hazra, make perception checks for me, please.
I was going to say, I'll make it, but I want to be looking for thinking of thingy's monkey, lemur. God,
Petulia.
No, yeah, Annalin's, Petulia. Ring-tailed lemur. Yes.
Yeah.
I want to specifically thinking that they are, needs to be thrown by a creature.
Bartleby, roll your animal lore skill.
Animal lore.
Do you have animal
something,
lore?
The closest I have is monsters.
Okay, roll that, but it'd be a hard roll.
Heck yeah. Point of luck to reverse.
Okay then, yeah, that's
last point of luck.
It's all right. It's 10-2. You're fine.
Thank you.
Hengist, you got 9 minutes.
Use it, Hengist!
I'm not in the scene.
Just do it.
Just give it to somebody else. Both of you look up into the trees. Hazra, these things are not actually native to steppes. You should be seeing them appearing.
Baboons?
The heck?
Yeah, they are baboons, and you suddenly look up, and you can only see 4 at the moment, but it's obvious that there's more in the trees, and you can see that they seem to be reloading with apples.
It's the chopper.
Meanwhile, back at Grandma's hole.
Oh, Grandma.
Grandma is waving.
Gulliver wants to put his head through the.
Gulliver wants to put his head in Grandma's hole. And
oh God.
Gulliver.
Look, it seemed descriptive when I.
I'm sure it
It's
did.
like a hobbit hole.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not a hobbit hole.
The whole pack
and
is.
Grandma's hole.
The whole.
Dirty old man.
The whole
Yeah,
pack.
yes,
What's
man.
it?
That's
The whole
right.
pack is called something like.
Everybody's hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Living in a
No,
hole.
no. Everybody has a hole.
Yeah.
What's it?
Don't mind him in Wills. It's just Medivac with a dirty mind.
The name is
dirty old man.
Village to Pillage Halfling Homes. Well, it actually says Halfling Mounds, and I didn't want to call it Grandma's Mound. So that's why. Right.
You can tune in tomorrow for the PG-13 version.
Yeah. So yeah, Gulliver and Hengist.
So Gulliver,
I always like Hengist in social situations.
Yeah. Just chuck him a clue and watch him throw it back.
No, I've been warned this time.
I like it that you always play to character strengths.
Well, it's a gentry. It's supposed to be a lord. It's supposed to know things.
So back at the entrance to Grandma's house,
is going to sort of like show both his hands to the old lady in it, and he's going to say in a voice which is slightly louder than how he would speak. He's going to say, "We're not here to." He wants to use his influence as well on this. He's going to say, We're not here to harm you. We were sent from Lindo to make sure you're all right. My name's Gulliver from the Order of the Kraken, and this is Hengist of the Lindo Guard.
Okay, so your influence.
And then he's going to say in a voice a bit lower, formally.
Yeah, so your influence roll is going to be formidable, because number one, it appears that you've just come into a house, and number two, she doesn't know you, and you've got a burly fighter next to you. You are holding out your hands and you are introducing yourself, but that sort of like takes it down from Herculean to this level. So yeah, roll away.
Formidable.
Yeah. So not hard. One step up for hard, and then one step up for formidable.
It's easy for Gulliver. It's fine.
Yeah, so you sort of like roll it, and at that point, you suddenly
get hit by an apple.
No, you hear through your telepathic link what Bartleby said moments ago when he said baboons, like that, and that sort of like comes through your head as he talks. I'm rolling my willpower.
Gulliver's going to say back, but she didn't answer the door.
I get. Let me check my willpower.
Gulliver doesn't probably know what a baboon is.
No, you probably don't. Your roll is 7, isn't it?
Yeah, he's going to take it like he said buffoon, because that's what Master Healer used to call him when he used to do something wrong.
Yeah,
That's why he said what he said.
Yeah, I succeed on a roll of 44, which
Mine was a crit.
Yours wasn't a crit.
No, we're on formidable.
All right.
It's not a crit.
Yeah. So she rolls 44 out of 64. So she sort of like waves her poker at you and says, "If you take one step further, you're going to get this poker where it doesn't shine." You do notice you do notice that the tip of the poker looks like it's been freshly poked in the fire, and she sort of like looks at you. She says, "Get out and take your do-gooding self partner with you."
Gulliver's going to say, "But Annalin sent us."
Okay, and but both of you roll your insight.
I got mine.
Hengist,
Two fat ladies.
You have no idea what's going on. You're trying desperately to try to get clues that Gulliver's feeding you after your encounter in the bar, that you got everything completely wrong.
He's paying very much attention to Gulliver.
Yeah, and Gulliver, when you mention Annalin's name, it's almost like the complete opposite response that you were hoping for, and she starts on a barrage of sort of like nastiness and says, "You tell that no good grandson of mine to never never step foot in this house again. And she just goes on and on and on and on. Meanwhile, back in the forest, we are going to just have that one misses. Oh, a 4. No, that one hits somebody.
At least we're not going to be hungry on the way
99 misses somebody. Oh, sorry, you can't. Why does 4
Gonna have
hits?
baboon for dinner.
99 misses.
What is a baboon?
It's gonna be what we're eating.
Yes.
Fair
4 misses. 4 hits. 99 miss. 49 misses.
I don't want the pink bit.
63 misses. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. So one of them hits. This is going to hit number 4. Number 3.
This guy.
Which is you, Bartleby. And it hits you on your 5.
Oh, do you like
Left
them
leg.
apples?
Left leg. Is there any armor on that left leg?
Yes, Bartleby wears fur armor, which only gives 1 armor point.
Okay, so you feel the apple whack into your leg, but the armor absorbs the impact. You also notice now that Hazra and Tiffin and Bartu as well. It hasn't been that that no apples have been thrown. It's just that they have been thrown and they've rained down. Unfortunately, one of the apples does hit something else. And
No.
and Tiffin and Bartleby, could somebody roll a percentile dice for Tiffin? And Bartleby, you need to roll your athletics. 44 is not enough for Tiffany. Oh, but you do manage to. So one apple hits the back end of Brutus, and Brutus almost like takes this as a signal to go forward. The whole cart lurches forward. Bartleby, you fall down, but make your athletics roll and land into the cart. Tiffin doesn't make her athletics roll. She falls off and she's off the cart. And Brutus is moving towards Grandma's mound hole, or a general area.
Grandma's house.
And that seems to be a good place to leave it. So people can have a think about what they're going to be doing next time. So did I mention, I told you that, it got the mention of Annalin's name actually made
Grandma angry.
Very. And she is giving you what for waving this poker in the air. And we will leave it.
How's she going to feel when Brutus enters Grandma's hall?
Well, I'm just trying to think of an appropriate role.
I bet she is too.
Athletics? I don't know.
Gymnastic? No.
It's in poker.
Endurance? Brawn?
Oh, that's more Brutus.
Yeah. So, right. What a wonderful place to leave it for tonight.
Sleep well.
And we will come back next week if everybody is available to see what happens when the party and I come back. So, just for a synopsis, Hengist and Gulliver are at the door, being ranted at by Grandmother. Hazra, Bartleby and Tiffin are being pelted by apples from the baboons. Brutus has started to move, knocking Tiffin off the cart, but Bartleby is in the cart, and Brutus is next week at Grandma's Hole. Yeah, so
No.
I think it'd be a brilliant time to come back so people can have a think, get ready to what they're going to do. Does anybody have any announcements?
I do not.
No.
No.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you for Garish for clipping Medivac's dirty mind. I hate.
Sorry.
I hate to think which one it is. I'm just going.
Yes.
It's
There's a
all-
plethora.
Meanwhile, back at Grandma's Hole.
Oh. Which one? Which one?
Do you know, it's so funny because I say, meanwhile, back at Grandma's Hole, and Chugga Mr. Pickles and Longshanks will go, what that? Medivac goes, hole. And burst out laughing.
The three of us professionals. I don't know about me.
Sure, honest.
It's
No,
a
to be
classic.
fair, they're professionals. I'm a role player. I was in the moments. Yes.
Oh yes, I'll post it in. I'll post it in the Discord. Okay then, brilliant. So yeah, so I will see you all. Who's put that picture of an eye on?
Guess.
Of course, it's Medivac.
Oh yes, I see it. I see now. Yeah,
It's just every time we cast, his eyes fill up.
yeah, that is disgusting.
I'm going to cast conjunctivitis.
Okay, yeah, we will see you next week. Until then, please remember to be who you are and say what you think, because the people who mind don't matter and the people who matter don't mind. Have fun, everyone, and we will catch you later next week. And until then, happy baboon tossing. Yeah, we'll see you all later.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Wait, don't